Welcome to the Commercial Kitchen Chronicles, the original food service equipment repair podcast built by technicians for technicians. Whether you're on the front lines of repair, keeping the kitchen running smoothly, or just passionate about the food service repair industry, this podcast is your go-to source for expert insight, tech tips, and real stories from the field. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Commercial Kitchen Chronicles. I'm your host, Pat Finley. I am joined tonight by co-host Jason Latimer and our very special guest, David Jones. Are you looking for top quality HVACR tools? TrueTech Tools is here to help. From instruments to hand tools, in stock and shipped fast. They have you covered to get the job done right. Visit TrueTechTools.com. Quality tools, essential support. So what is going on, guys? If you guys haven't seen the previous episode, David was on last year talking about work, and he's back to talk about some new stuff at work. So what is going on, David?
Hey guys, thanks for having me back. I'm like I said, I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be invited back. Especially after taking up so much of your time last time.
It was we're not bad, man. We have some guests that want to go and go. HVACR dads last week. We could have kept going all night with those guys. We had to stop it. I'm gonna have them back for a round two. But you are always welcome back. You're one of my favorites. You're an office guy. I'm not gonna hold that against you, but you really do have the techs at heart when you're setting up calls or when you're setting up PM agreements. But you're in a little bit of a different role now. So you want to talk about that first?
Yeah, so it's kind of a lot of weird things happened, since we last spoke. I mean, it's so I'll cut to the chase on how my roles changed. Since we last spoke, I was promoted to the director of sales and marketing at Casper Service Company. And
Congratulations, by the way. Congrats.
Thank you. It's kind of one of those weird things because last year for me, I think was the biggest thing for me that I took away from it was an exercise in patience. I just had to be refreshed of, things don't always happen on the timeline that you want them to. And you have to sometimes just be patient and wait for things to happen when they're supposed to, because, to be fair, I really wasn't ready for that role when we spoke last time. There was a lot of things that were going on, and I just needed to kind of really reset myself and take that time to be ready for that. But new role is exciting. It's challenging. It's the same, but it's a lot different. I haven't really dug into the marketing side too much yet, but that's going to be down the road. We're trying to figure out. I've got a few things I'm working on to try to do low cost marketing, kind of grassroots stuff. But the big thing is been really, we took on a new guy last year. We brought him out of the field, and he was he was a strong tech. He comes from Pacific Northwest. He knows this stuff. He's been around. And before he came to us, he was in the sales world. He was selling windows and doors. I'm sorry, not doors, but I think windows. And when he came back, when he moved to Florida, he ended up, he tried that out for a little bit. It was a different market here for him, but he switched back to teching. And the opportunity came up because our project estimator, he's going to be retiring probably at the end of this year, at least scaling back his role. I mean, you know how these guys are. They don't really like to retire. They just work so hard for so long. It's for them to just completely stop. It's almost, like that's way too much change for them. So as we're kind of getting him to a pace where he's slowing down, we wanted to bring the new guy in and have him kind of fill that role. So it's been a cool opportunity to be able to help get him established and help build some relationships. And it's been nice to step aside from myself to be able to help somebody else out. Not necessarily me have to be in the spotlight to shine. And that's that thing that kind of changed in me over the last year, because it was just being a little more comfortable in my role and comfortable with myself to be able to do things for other people and be able to help somebody else win. And that's really it's been fun this year because it's gotten me to, and it's not that I haven't been to NAFM and those things before, but it was kind of a different role this year when I went, and getting to do some of these conventions and getting to see Mr. Finley out in the world and not just in digital formats. So
how did we stay in the same exact hotel and had no clue? I went down to catch a ride or to walk somewhere, and someone yells my name, and I look over, and he's just chilling in the lobby. I was like, "You're staying here?"
Yeah. So, and what I want to say too is I wanted to give you a hard time because how do we stay in the hotel and not have a drink the entire time? Because I swear every night I finish the night by having some pours on the rooftop.
Because I was
So
everywhere, but because I was everywhere, but at the hotel
yeah,
at night.
you were moving and shaking the whole time you were there, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was fun. But I get peopled out, and I just kind of like, I am the king of Irish goodbyes. Like you just look around and I'm gone, and like when I'm gone, I just like I get back to the room and I just like ignore my phone, make sure my alarm's set, and like I'll hear it go off. I'm like, I can't look at it, I can't look at it, I can't look at it. And nothing
Yeah.
personal. I'm just like I'm peopled out for the day, and that was
No,
a long stretch for me because that was February. I did a 2-day training thing. We had a reward show. I did AHR. I did wet, and just that was like a long month. And I was like, by the end of it, I was wore out, man. It's like this isn't normal for me. I'm used to fixing stuff, man. It's not my comfort zone. It's completely different than what I'm used to, and like I was never so excited to go back to work because like I can go to work and I can like I can just like focus and like it's weird to say like I never want to come out of the field. I want to teach and do more things, but I never want to come out of the field because that's like my safe space. I can go there and I can just like I can devote everything to what I'm working on or looking at, and I don't have to worry about anything else. And I just like my mind's clear, and it's amazing. That's just why I love this job.
I get that. It's one of those things where I'm an office guy, but I like to spend a lot of time in the field and just being interacting with people because that's just I spent my career before I got into this industry. I was a server and bartender, so I was not sitting still. I might have been stuck behind a bar, but I would run 10 miles the whole night just back and forth between that 12-foot stretch. So it was sitting still. I get it, and just being in one place, but I enjoy being out and interacting with people. But I get tired from that too. There's times where I like to recharge and I just want to be somewhere quiet where I don't have to talk to anybody for about 3 hours. And it doesn't happen often with a toddler, but it's I will say my wife is amazing because she gave me that space. Like, hey, why don't you just stay home for a little bit, play some Call of Duty, do your thing, and just unwind. And so I'm more than blessed on that side of it because she's able to see when I'm getting to my point where I'm like, okay, this is a little too much. I'm a little overstimulated. I'm gonna throw a tantrum like the toddler. So
I've been there. That's funny.
Sweet. Yeah, so it was great getting to see you at the I know you were a bit even busier at AHR, but it was great getting to spend some time with you and chat with you while we were up at NAFM. That was a fun time. It was definitely a different experience with me. Was this your first trip to NAFM?
No, I did it 2 years ago in Orlando. It was Orlando 2 years ago. That was my first one.
That's where we first met.
Yep. The first time I met Jason in person.
Really? Okay. Yeah.
That was the highlight of my entire trip. Was not even talking to Jason. It was watching his live streams on the rickshaw. Like I don't know what he was doing. Right. He was having fun. That's all I know. The highlight. I'll remember that more than the show, I think.
That was before I joined the show.
Yeah. That's funny. I think I might have even convinced him that the guy who was driving, his name was Rick Shaw. Because he was like, it was the same guy from last night. I'm like, oh yeah, it was Rick Shaw, right? He's like, I didn't get his name. Like
that was after going to a Fed meetup at the Topgolf, and the rest of the company went to Italian restaurant. And about the time I left that, I needed a rickshaw because I wasn't going to make it anywhere without it.
Yeah, it was a celebration. We'll just say what it is. It was a celebration.
It was fun.
Yeah. But no, NAFM was different this year just because I kind of felt like an old head there, right? So it was going around and seeing people, and it was we are doing with this new space with the person we brought in, this project sales and estimator. We're trying to get him involved with a lot of the manufacturers just so we can get paired up with these different companies that need installers, so that way he can bid those projects. And it was funny because we have very big rep group that had really walked us around to all these different distributors. Really blessed to be able to be in that position. But it was funny because there was one gentleman who's now repping Montague. He was, we bumped into each other and we were like, oh man, I haven't seen you in forever. Congratulations on the new promotion. Congratulations on, whatever number baby this is at this point, all these things, because we hadn't seen each other in so long. And everybody was like, how do you know that guy? How do you know him? I'm like, oh man, he used to come in our come in our kitchen and demo a lot of different food equipment. So it was just funny to be able to see some of those people and how their roles have evolved and how they've grown in the industry. So that was pretty exciting. But it's been really kind of like I said, this new role has been a lot of fun because I get to be involved in a lot more of these things. I didn't get to do Cefesa this weekend for the regional conference, but that's okay because believe me, I've got plenty to keep me busy. You know, we hit the 90-degree mark this week in Florida, so AC season is upon us and going to get even worse. And I feel bad for Jason over here because I know he's not going to get any rest. With how many stores are you taking care of now, sir?
110.
Is that it? Oh, you'll be fine.
As long as that phone's on mute for this hour, it's all I care about.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. Do not disturb.
He wanted
Goodness.
it. He's got it.
Yeah, that's believe me, I was telling him that, you know, before he got into the role, I kind of tried to warn him what it was.
Mm-hmm.
So
it was everything you said it was going to be too.
Is
so.
it easier to fix the equipment or deal with this side of it, Jason?
I want to do both, to be honest. I want to do both, and I feel like I'm imposing my will or my standards on other technicians and service companies. But, you know, at the end of the day, if I'm happy, I'm more than happy to approve those proposals.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's a tough thing, is trying to hold other people up to your standards and your level of your accountability, because it's not there. And you're just going to end up making yourself crazy doing that.
Yeah,
I think we've probably all been guilty of that.
That's my biggest thing is, like, I got to quit expecting myself and everybody else. And it sucks to say that because I want everybody to see, I want everybody to be the best version of themselves, but there's some people just don't care or they're just not going to do it. And
it's bare minimum.
If you keep forcing it or keep focusing on it, it just eats you alive. Like you said, it's going to make you miserable. And there's nothing you can do about it. You can't make anybody do anything. You can show light, kind of lead them that way, but it's in the end, it's on them.
Well, it's unfortunate because you get to a point where you have so many providers to work with, and you kind of like, well, this is pretty much all I can expect from this provider. So it's like you got to lower your standards, and not just lower your standards. It's like they need this bare minimum to just get over over the finish line, so I can take it over and get it processed and do what I need to do. And then there's others that are just on point because if it's good for what's good for them is good for me, and their standards are high. And it's just like, man, I need 10 more like this provider. I need 10 more like this specific manager. I need 10 more like this dispatcher. And it's, I just want to make a perfect service company. And it's
just be like me. Just like get your kids into it and just like.
There you go.
I'm really proud of my kids though. I was talking to a regional manager today, and he's like, "Man, your son, for doing this 2.5 years, is like doing tremendous things." I was like, to be honest, I never thought he'd even make it a week. And he's out here just killing it. So, proud dad moment. I got to brag a little bit, but yeah.
Look, you should be proud of yourself. That says a lot about your parenting style and just getting them to that place to be functioning, independent adults.
Yep. They're all doing good. So I'm proud of them all. But,
how long's your youngest been doing it?
He'd be a year in like June 5th or something. So he's.
Well, I don't want to pry too much into it, but I'm just curious. Like, I don't know what he did prior to this. Like,
my youngest, nothing. He went
nothing.
He went to high school.
Oh my goodness, this must be such good money. How old is he?
So my youngest is 19. Now the one I was talking about is 22, and he's been doing it 2.5, almost 3 years.
Yeah, and he's got the house and everything. But man, to do it at his age, like I started at 30. I went to school, tech school. Didn't get in the field till I was 34, and I have a lot of days where I'm just like, why didn't I just freaking do this at 18 or 19 or 20?
He was in my Garland class I was in a couple weeks ago, and the instructor seen he was young. He's like, how long have you been doing this? And he was like, oh, almost 3 years. And the instructor's like, what'd you do before this? And I said, high school. And he was like, I hate you. You could just see that look. He didn't say it, but you could just like, man. But it's cool seeing the young people, man. We love focusing on young people. We love everybody in the trades. This industry, all trades. But, I got a soft spot for the young people because, I started in this industry when I was probably 25. Well, no, 24. But, when I see these young people out here just, 18, 19, 22, 23, and just killing it. And it's like, man, there is hope for this next generation. You always hear the old people like, oh, these young kids don't want to work. These young kids can't do this. These young kids do that. Give them a chance. Teach them. Don't hold information back. Tell them the truth. Lead them the way that need to be led, and see what happens. Let them develop it for themselves.
Let them fail.
Yep. That's the hardest thing to do, especially if it's your kid.
Right. But I've personally throughout my life, professionally and personally, I mean, it's the times I've failed, I've probably learned the most.
Mm-hmm.
Now, sometimes I have to fail again some years down the road just to remind myself, but it's being able to have that space to fail just gives you the confidence to be able to try new things, because you kind of recognize that, if I fall on my face on this, it's not the end of the world. Pick myself back up and, try it again, see what happens. Because your life isn't over when you fail. It just means you have to identify why you failed and try to move on from that. Yep. So it's, but it is incredible to see the young people in it. I know we all have a soft spot in our heart for Luke, but we had an opportunity with the customer this year to bring a bunch of those fancy Garland grills into our facility to rehab them and build them up and basically refresh them to be able to go into a new store. And with that, we were able to bring a young guy on who's, similar situation, 19 years old. And we got to train him in a closed environment where he can have the opportunity to fail and not have to worry about those crazy things that you poor guys have to deal with, with screaming customers and chaotic environments and hot grease flying and getting stepped on and all those things that you guys love so much about being out there in the field, right? But oddly enough, his brother is a big customer of ours, and he asked us to be able to take him on. And he tells me often, he thanks me. He's like, this is, he loves working for you guys. I'm a little jealous, but, we're on different career paths, but it's, it's the greatest thing for him. I've never seen this kid so excited about a job and about doing anything in my life. Or in his life rather. But it's, you reached out to me because I'm trying to get my nephew in the industry. He's in, East Texas, and kid doesn't want to go to school. He wants to get a job. I don't blame him. I mean, he's first generation though, so going to school is kind of not an option for him. His family's really gunning for him to go to school. So I'm trying to talk him into, hey, get you a job as an apprentice. Go learn somewhere. Go somewhere where somebody lug somebody's tool bag around and hold a flashlight. And somewhere where you're going to have the space to get paid to do that and learn a trade, and then go to school at night. That way you have the best of both worlds. And if you ever want to get out of the field, you can get a business degree or something like that, and you use that as a springboard to go to the next step or to start your business and being able to do that. But learn a trade, because you can take that anywhere. If you don't want to be in Texas the rest of your life, or you want to go to the Pacific Northwest or the Northeast or Europe, anywhere. It's once you learn these things, it's something that nobody can take away from you. You can take it anywhere and be successful and have a great career and a great life with that. So it's pretty amazing. And so hopefully I'll get him down that path, but he's got a few more months till he graduates. So we'll see how that goes.
That's cool. Yeah, there's a lot of opportunities out there. There's a lot of companies investing heavily into training, and you just got to find those companies and they're willing to invest in you or someone you know. It's cool to see like Luke at Casper's. When he was there, he was just soaking up all the knowledge he could get. I mean, he was like the youngest Garland certified tech, I think, and he just found a place to invest in him, and he excelled. And they're out there. You just got to find them.
Yeah, and the hard part is training that is just so expensive on companies. That's one thing that people don't realize. Those are non-productive hours.
Mm-hmm.
Those are guys you're having to pay the same rate, but they're not generating revenue. And it's a hard thing for being on the other side of it, not to not be able to see and really understand, because you see the invoices going out, and what the company's billing, what you're getting paid, but you don't think about, you're not really aware of all the other costs that are involved in just running a service call, making sure that they have the van that's full of parts, and proper insurance, all the things that they have, all the tools that they need that are outside of just the common hand tools. So there were just so much more involved in that.
Yep.
It's until you have a real full view of it, it's hard. And Luke kind of fell into the perfect situation. He came in and got, on the front end of his career, training with a guy who was on the tail end of his career. So the guy was just a wealth of knowledge, and just being able to be one-on-one with that guy and really do that apprentice and master relationship that the trade started at, and really has to be able to, for guys to develop and be successful, and to, again, be confident with what they're doing out there in the field.
Yeah, there's a lot of things people don't realize with the training. Like you said, the cost you're paying the wage, but there's a whole other cost you don't realize. If you're not working, there's no revenue coming in to pay your wages. So yeah. I mean, it's a twofold loss. They're losing the money to send you there, so it's an investment in you, and they're not making any money off you for the time you're there. So it's really a pretty big loss once you come to think about it. Just say if you guys bill $140 an hour, and that's 8 hours, that's $1,120 in labor, and then parts and everything else. I mean, that's one day.
Right.
It's just wild to think of, and there's a lot people don't realize that. And I'm guilty of that myself. Like, I want to do this training, I want to do this training, I want to do this training, but I'm like, I make a lot of money. It's a huge burden to take me out of the field for 2-3 days, send me somewhere, have me come back, to get there, back, hotel. I mean, it's a
food. Yeah, all of it. And, I'm going to go out on a limb here. It's probably not too far of a limb here, but I have to imagine you're probably one of their top revenue generators too. So to take you out of the field hurts a little bit. Yeah,
it does. But I mean, it's just part of it. And I'll go to training on my own. I'm gonna go down to Tennessee. I'm gonna go hang out with Jay Maiden at Colpack this fall. I'm gonna go take a training class down there. I think I'll do that class. I think I'm gonna stop and talk to the Mealers on the way back. So I'm gonna set up like a 2 or 3 day thing. Take some vacation time, go down there on my own, spend a day training with them, and then go hang out with Loretta and Austin Mueller, and just make a little trip of it. But I'm gonna do that on my own because I want to do that. Now, we don't do warranty work for them, but I want that training, I want that knowledge, and I want that chance to see that facility. And just is what it is. It's just who I am as a person, though.
Absolutely, and it's you're like Jason. You're just constantly reinvesting in your career and in your education, and it really has to be that, especially for what you guys are doing, because there's so much that changes.
Mm-hmm.
I thanks to Jason, I know that there's been a pause on the A2Ls and things like that, but just the things that change so quickly in our industry, it's pretty wild. So it's you have to constantly be out there and getting those trainings to be on top of your game, to be able to speak from a position of true knowledge, and being able to not only speak but teach and educate your customers as well. So it is a challenge, and it is a burden, and it's cool to see that you guys go so far as to do it on your own time, to be able to do that, because it means that much to you.
It really means a lot to me. Like when I sent myself to that first AHR, I didn't even think about really trying to have anyone even pay for it. It's just like, man, this, as much as I want stuff paid for, I can focus a lot better knowing that I invested in it. And it's, I pay attention more, when it's like,
you got skin in the game.
Yeah. That's gotta be it. If you're paying for it, everything just recalls a lot better. Everything just, it hits different, and I really appreciate it more if it's definitely out of my own pocket. But on top of that investment, I have a lot of pride in the fact that I put my way through it, because it's all dividend from the hard work I did prior. I wouldn't have had the money if I didn't go into this field to just go to Chicago, get my own hotel, just go and just do my own thing and network. And, and that means more to me than a lot of stuff. It's this industry is my jam, and I love investing in it. And it's a fun hobby on top of everything as well.
It's funny. You guys love that side of it, that you're fixing things. So on my side of it, the thing that really does it for me is being able to help people, help solve problems, help get things resolved for them. And it's gone even further than that, because there's times where there might be we picked up a huge customer this year that's outside of our wheelhouse, and not really our typical. They don't have any kitchen equipment. It's just straight ACs. It's more of a salon space, right? And they were having some trouble. They've got 350 some locations across the U.S., and they gave us about 50 or 60 stores here in Florida. And they were, just through casual conversations, he was talking about different markets that he was having some challenges getting vendors for. So I was able to create connections for that. So I get to help him out and create that connection for another company. So it's just cool to be able to make that segue for somebody whose work you believe in, that you think that they're a good company, and they represent themselves well, and you feel confident enough to be able to make that recommendations. And it's kind of an invaluable thing for the relationship I have with the customer, because it's not just this one-dimensional relationship where it's transactional. Hey, give me all your work and I take all your money. It's hey, where else can I help you out at where I'm not benefiting from that at all? I think that's important. It's what are you doing to put the good out there in the world and help other people in the industry? So I did want to ask you something, because I had kind of I keep going back to NAFTA, and I apologize, but I had this unique experience there, and I know I've shared it with Jason. I didn't know if you had it, Pat, when we got to see One Republic.
That was so cool, dude.
So I really had to take it in for a moment, just kind of sit down and just recognize that when I started in my career, my first job, my first government job ever was working for Hardee's when I was 15 years old. And like it or not, everything that every step we took along the way, or misstep, led us to the moment we're at right now. I mean, I truly and fully believe that. And to think that me working at Hardee's could translate to me standing on the field of an NFL stadium in a group of, how many people would you say were there? 1,000, 1,500? It can't have been that many.
Yeah, 1,500, 2,000 max, but it's probably closer to 1,500 to 1,250. Yeah, just right there on the field. Personal concert with One Republic. All the food, drinks you could handle. It was wild.
Yeah, in a room full of people who are passionate about the same things that we're passionate about. And it was just very, very humbling to think that, man, I'm literally, standing here, and what business do I have standing on the grass at an NFL stadium?
Oh yeah, that was the same thing I said. I was like, how did I end up here?
Right.
I was thinking that over and over. I was like, how am I here? How am I here? Like, how did I get here, man? It just
how did my life lead me to this point where this is real life for me. It's you have those, you hear about people talking about, they think they live in the Matrix. And that's definitely one of those moments for me where it's like, how is this real? How is this a moment that I'm actually experiencing?
Yeah, that was wild.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it's literally speechless, because it was just, you can't really describe it unless you were there, because it's just a very big feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, good times.
Yeah, I find myself asking myself that a lot anymore. When I go do something, or talking to somebody, I'm like, how did I get here? I like fixing stuff. I like working with my hands. I like the challenge of what I do, and like somehow I end up at a NFL stadium, sitting on hanging out the 50-yard line, watching a concert. It was like, okay, it worked out.
Playing with giant bobbleheads as you walk in.
Yeah, get my pictures taken, and yeah, we were playing sized beer pong with the trash cans and giant cornhole, and it was cool. It was
a fun time.
Yeah. So what is your biggest takeaway from NAFM?
It's really just kind of reinforced about how important relationships are. I will say that, because there were a couple of people that we met with, and I don't want to name drop just because that's a little weird, but we, some different rep groups that we worked with, and a couple of them are monsters. One of them pretty much handles Disney in Florida on their own. Another one handles, and just being able for them to personally walk us around. And then we had another group that we had met at literally the morning we went to AHR, we went and had breakfast at First Watch to meet with them, and they're dissolving their in-house install team, and they were looking for a company that could help them all throughout the state. So whether it be white glove delivery service, installing, setting up, and starting up, and it's really been able to, just having these new relationships has helped us get new ASAs, get us in new spaces that we've never been. So it's just, and seeing all the people the last time I was at NAFM, they're probably in a different role now, or doing something wildly different. And I will say, the one manufacturer that blew my mind while I was there, Tosa.
Really?
I didn't realize how much they'd expanded their line.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I'd really seen they'd been on my radar for was just some reach-in coolers here.
Reach-in refrigeration.
Yeah, they're a whole other world now. They've got some robotics. They're into ice machines. They've got hot equipment. They're
What stuck out to you the most?
really just the range of products, because there was so many things that they had there. So I will say I wasn't as blown away this year by the new cutting edge things that I was last year, or the last cycle, with all the robotics that we got to see, because that was new and wild to me, and pizza vending machines and the robotic servers. And I didn't really see anything that kind of blew me away to that regards, but it didn't feel as big as Orlando. Maybe I'm wrong.
It didn't at all. And
the Orlando NAFM, Atlanta wasn't that big, or it didn't have the same vibe.
It didn't seem as big, not at all. It seemed smaller to me.
So one of the crazy things, I don't know if you looked at the program at all, was seeing the international areas, because there was really two big international areas, and one thing that blew my mind was, Chinese was one. That makes sense to me. They've got how many billion people in China, and China, Asian food. The equipment's a little different than some of the other your traditional things that you're cooking with. Some of the ranges you just burn a little hotter, but they had a whole section for Turkish, for Turkey. And so I had to kind of go down the rabbit hole. Apparently, Turkish cuisine is a very well known, very highly sought after, and it just wasn't on my radar. So that's
I want to try it.
So now I'm ready to try some different Turkish food. So I'm gonna have to seek that out, see what that's about.
I'll go off your recommendation. There's got to be something local.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Tosa. They have a walk-in cooler that's driven. It's an inverter driven. Looks like a mini split, like condensing unit on top of it. It's pretty cool. But what I'm talking about Tosa is their combi chef is based out of Indianapolis, and his unit is actually in my warehouse. He uses our warehouse because we have a hood and hookup. So he comes in, he films it every time. If you walk in that back door and you smell food, Chef Jeff is in there cooking. You're about to get fed.
That's what's up.
I need to have him on. He's a really cool dude. He's repped a bunch of brands, but he's been at Tosa the last 3 years or so, and he's killing it over there. But he's a combi chef, man. It's pretty cool.
Where's the Tosa? Where is the Tosa from? Is that an Asian market?
I believe it's a Chinese company or
Chinese company,
an Asia company for sure. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I don't think I go a day without going into some establishment and seeing that piece of equipment.
Well, and here they have their own little service network thing. It's not like a normal service provider. They don't use a whole lot of places like us. I think they have their own guys. It's a little different. I haven't done any of their work.
Interesting.
I'd see their combi all the time. No, sitting in my warehouse.
David, did we ever do any work for Tosa? I feel like
maybe. I mean, I think we're ASAs now for something like 70 or 71 brands.
Yeah.
Which is crazy in itself, and it's growing every day. But it's I'm not sure, but I've heard that they're really shaking things up in that side of the industry, that they're capturing a ton of market share. So there's somebody that I definitely want to work with, just so I can learn more about them and just kind of get more well versed in the equipment that they're selling now. Because again, I was only familiar with the little reach-in coolers, the little sandwich tables, anything that they have like that, because that's what I'd seen in a lot of places.
It's funny. It's where I'm at now. It's just like, okay, great. There's the brand. Who can service it? And are the parts here in America? Those are like my three things.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, where are the parts at? I don't care how fancy this is, but if a sensor goes down and I have to wait for it to be shipped overseas, like hearing the word it's coming from Italy just drives me up the wall. It's just like, why'd you say that?
Why'd you say Italy?
What?
Is it espresso machines?
No, it's combis and things like that. Yeah. I'm not even going to say a brand. Pat, don't.
I'm not.
But Pat, don't.
I'll play good here. I'll play good. I don't say names when you're here.
I'm just saying, not just Italy, anything that comes from overseas. If you're going to sell it here and it's going to be widely, installed and serviced, and I think all the major parts should be here. That's just my
Absolutely.
opinion.
Yeah. My mini split will not come on. I'm sweating. Sorry. So keep looking. At me.
If it makes you feel any better, Pat, I'm freezing.
I
dropped my AC to 72, but this bottle that David got me is a little hot. Got me hot.
That could be a problem. I didn't even think about that. So
the Blantons.
Yeah. So your role is more than it was before. So you're doing some marketing stuff. You said you want to get back to the grassroots marketing. So are you guys having technicians going to start filming some content for you, or are you going to be out in the field following technicians around, helping film some content or figure some stuff out, or how's that going to work out?
Did you figure that out yet, David?
No, so what I'm going to do, one of the things that I really want to do, because I think I want to keep things simple. I want to keep the cost low because I'm new in my role. I'm not trying to spend a bunch of the company's money. I'm trying to be conscious of that because I want to make sure we're allocating our funds to the right places.
Mm-hmm.
We had the opportunity also, we had the opportunity to join RIFMA. Is that the fancy one you went to this year, Jason?
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to go to RIFMA really bad. I think that would be very beneficial, but that was a lot of money.
It was. And where's it next year?
I don't
know.
Hopefully, that'd be great. So I'm just trying to be conscious of what the company's spending because my role's a little different now, and I just don't want to get wild with throwing money out there. One of the things that's low-hanging fruit, I found out from my wife because she has one of her leasing people at a different property that you can get the QR code for your Google site. And I was thinking, hey, we can get these QR codes, turn them into stickers, slap them on the back of the guys' tablets. That way, when they're out in the field, we can say, hey, how did everything go today? Did I do a good job? You can get a review in real time. That way, it boosts your SEIs or search engine optimization, SEOs.
Yeah.
But that way the guys can get feedback, and that way that they can kind of get recognized while they're in the field. And we can create an incentive program because talking to piggybacking on your comments earlier about trying to get people to change and do the right thing. That's a pretty tough task to do with anything, getting people to change. And there's really, in my opinion, only two ways to do that: the carrot and the stick. I know Jason's heard me say it about 1 million times. You either incentivize people or have a punishment. And so set up some sort of incentive program for the guys, whoever gets the most reviews done this month. And that way we're just getting all this positive feedback, and we can use that for our website. We can create testimonials with this. So these are things that really don't cost us any money other than the printer paper for creating these stickers. But I think that's a good place to do it. But those are low-level ways of getting us out there and just getting more people aware of us. And that's one place to start. We obviously have to work on our social media presence, which is not my favorite thing, but I realize how important that is. And really our website's been in construction for a while, and I know we've had a lot of different iterations because we've had a lot of different identities, but that's been fun too. And just coming up with different marketing material to empower my team with, because they have people that call in all the time and want to know stuff, and we haven't had anything really set in stone for a while. So it's just, I learned that I can create a service map, like our territory map in Excel. It took me forever. I signed up for probably about a dozen different mapping websites for free trials just to run through and see what was really going to work. And I figured out how to do it in Excel, and it looks beautiful. It's our color schematic for what our brand is, and just being able to do that and do different things and put together just some material that they can share and just to be able to distribute to folks, and having to put together service packets for whenever we're doing sales meetings. So I can give my managers those, and some of the sales guys, I can put those together for them, or even some of the senior techs. That way, when they're going to run that ASA, that warranty call for new, they can drop something off. Hey, how come your regular company can't take care of this for you? We can do this, and this in here, and just get us out there and get more exposure, because you can do a lot of different things, but I'm a firm believer you get out and talk to people. That's the best way to get somebody's buy-in. And it's, my new strategy when I'm going out and doing cold calls, the flyer I put together, I literally put our ASA list on the other side of the flyer, because I can tell
That's
people
smart.
it is because it's, hey, you know what? I understand your reluctance to take a flyer with a new vendor because you don't know what you're getting into. flip that sheet over. Here's our warranty providers, the companies we can do warranty work for. Let us come out and do some work in your store on somebody else's dime. Test this out on somebody else while somebody else is splitting the bill, and make your judgment from there. Then if you feel confident, or you're a little more confident with what we're doing, comfortable, let us try another piece of equipment that's not covered under the warranty. See how we handle that. So just letting our guys go out there and do what they do best. I mean, that's really what the selling point is. It's not, I can talk a big game all day long. We do a ton of work with a very large national chain, and they have a big franchise, and I'm trying to get their corporate stores. And even me going into the stores, don't take my word for it. I'm a sales guy. I'm probably lying to you. I'm not, but that's their perspective of it, right? I'm going to give you a list of people that we do work for, and we've been doing work for 5, 6, 7, 8 years. Let them tell you what we do for them. They wouldn't keep us around if we weren't doing what we were supposed to be doing for that long. It is this industry is very much, what have you done for me lately? And you're only as good as your last service call. And it's not fair, but it's just their perception of it. Mm-hmm. It's not looking at, sometimes you have to, when you're in those meetings with the higher level folks, you want to show them the high level view. What's your first time fix rate? Which parts are we committed to keeping in stock for you so that, your equipment's not down? Because that's really all they care about is how long is my equipment going to be down for? How long is this going to be a challenge for me? So it's just identifying that and really seeing what the pain points are to be able to alleviate some of those pressures for them.
Nice. I like it.
The ASAs, I find myself having to ask almost every week, send out emails just asking, hey, are you on this ASA? Are you on that ASA? Unfortunately, I've been a little disappointed on a few where they're like, yes, we are. It even says it on their website just to find out that they're not, or they missed something, or they are an ASA, but they needed to be registered for our particular brand and stuff like that. But having that list, I mean, I've never thought of that, just having a whole list on the back of the flyer, because you're right. It lets someone else flip the bill, and then once that warranty runs out, I'm going to want you to just continue to maintain it because you have the history on the equipment. And, if you're already in the store working on this piece of equipment, and this piece of equipment, you might not be an ASA for, but it's refrigeration or it's, you're here, I want to save a trip charge. Let's go ahead and can you take a look at that?
Yeah.
And once you get in there, that's when I remember when I went on warranty calls, I did everything I could, without direction to try to capture that store, that customer. And, it's your opportunity to shine. It's yours to lose. If you got that key to get in there and have at it, if you don't maintain that, you keep that job or keep that customer. I mean, it's really a great opportunity where you're in there all the time. That's your time to shine.
Right. And that's, that's a good way for me I have a report ran that tells me what new customers we've taken on. So if you can capture it within, 24 hours, 36 hours of when we've been out to do the warranty work for this new customer, you can treat it as a cold call. Just, set it up as hey, we wanted to see, we were out for the first time, wanted to make sure everything went well, that everything got resolved, get any feedback you guys might have about what we can do better or what was good, what was bad. Just asking for them to give them the space to tear you down if that's what it takes. And that's been good with that. And to Jason's point, that's what got us in to be able to train this new, Luke 2.0 was our relationship, our familiarity with Garland Grills, where this is a national company that made a huge shift away from their competitor, the other big competitor in that space, to go to these Garland clamshell grills. And they're fully staffed with their in-house service techs, but their guys aren't Garland certified. So what they're having us do is do all their Garland grills, all their warranty calls for Garland, they're having us take care of. And that springboarded into us being the company that's changing out ACs. I think we're changing out they're very proactive about changing out their AC units. So, Q4 rolls around, they put together a list of what they want to do for their budget. They order them all, and they're having us install a couple dozen AC units for them across the state. And all we're doing is labor only. It's getting us some exposure, getting us a lot of work that we wouldn't be getting. And it's, I'm going to have to share the picture with you. I pulled up to work the other day, and there was, I kid you not, a trailer with probably about 10 or 11 Aeon units just stacked on this trailer.
Ooh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, it was nice.
Aeons?
It was nice.
Good Lord.
Aeons.
That's
So
pricey, homie.
Yeah, I know it was a lot of money.
No,
Sitting on the trailer.
you need you need a bachelor's degree to work on that thing.
I know.
The training is horrible.
Yeah, well, I know a doctor. That's all he works on. Yeah,
That's funny.
he's a legit doctor.
Yeah, I those were always fun to work on, man. I was just like, oof, get on the phone with their tech support. They're like, have you been through training? I'm like, no, but I'm here right now. I'm like, it's not looking horrible. You want to walk me through this?
Yeah, well, look, they're complex machines, that's for sure. That's not your run-of-the-mill AC. And this is no knock to any technician. You got to have specialized training. You're not just going to throw a residential guy onto one of these AI units. There's a lot of commercial guys you can't throw at them just because you literally need a laptop to diagnose what's going on. So, they're very complex units.
They're wild. My friend Matt will probably be all over me, but they have a place outside Kansas City where they're made, and they have a humongous room where they actually test these things in sub-zero temperatures, snow, gale force winds, like rain.
That's cool.
That's
cool
awesome. I want to see that.
Yeah, right.
It's pretty wild that they do this, but it's outside Kansas City. Matt Waxer, the HVAC doctor, he works on those things all the time, man. He's got a laptop. He's got this little magnet thing sticks on the side of the unit and hooks right into the unit, and he just goes to town. And like I said, he's a legit doctor, and that's what he does. Is he does HVAC.
Dude's got a
That's
PhD.
Awesome. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
That's wild. And he didn't like it, and he started doing HVAC. So he's got a pretty cool.
That's even wilder.
That's that's crazy.
It's Canada.
That's a special right there.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about. Then, if you say Garland Girls and Aeon, you just narrowed it down to one store.
Yeah. Well, they're a fun company to work for. I mean, it's been interesting. We actually stole one of their techs several years ago, and about every third time that I have a call with him, we talk about that tech, and he's no longer with us. But he was quite the character, and it's sad that we lost him too soon. But it's just fun to be able to. Again, it's such a small industry to be able to share those stories with other people about people that we've ran into and encountered through our experience in the industry.
Yeah, it's industry is big, but it is small. Like you go to a trade show, like you're saying, like this person used to work here and now they work here, and you're like, oh,
yeah.
I'm like, hey, we need someone in your market. You guys want to work on this? Sure. Well, yeah, we'll take that. We'll work on anything.
Absolutely. But those relationships are so important because once you establish that trust with somebody, you're able to really just kind of run with it. And they're going to be advocates for you. It's just like what I'm doing with some of my customers. Hey, you're looking for somebody in that market. Let me help you out. Let me see what I can do for you. Because you get those referrals. Hey, I literally had one of my clients call me the other day. Hey, my church, we've got a commercial kitchen in our church, and we're having an issue with the range coming up on wedding season. They're telling us we got an LP leak in its gas range. Can you guys get out here and help us out with it? So it's just being able to, we get to earn new business on it, but we get to help somebody else in the process. And it's based on those referrals and those opportunities. And because I've done such a good job for him, and I've known this guy probably about as long as I've known Jason. So it's been a couple of years. So
nice. Yeah, it's
now
good.
No. I was just gonna say the other game-changing thing for me this year has been we rolled out XOI, and
same.
I'm blown away by it, and I'm blown away by our techs, their ability. Of course, you throw anything new at anybody.
I want to say willingness. Just throw that.
Yeah, the willingness.
Too.
That's it. You throw anything new at anybody when they're comfortable doing something, and they're just like, I can't do it. This is stupid. I don't want to do it. The guys have really just taken off with it, and we've been able to do some different things. So whenever we're recommending replacing compressors on units, we're also looking back to see how much money we've set up some key features in here, so it flags it for us for the folks in the office, so we can kind of look at how much money the customer spent on this piece of equipment since we've been working on it, so that we've got the compressor here, the total cost of what they spent on the life of the piece of equipment, so we can also give them the option to replace it. And that way they can kind of have a bigger picture with what they're really looking to spend. The other cool thing is I've been able to sell the shit out of some PMs by using these XOIs. I don't know if I can swear on here.
You
whatever you want.
That's tame enough.
Yeah, that's real tame.
But just being able to show customers what we're doing on the roof while we're there, what we're doing with the equipment, because there is no tangible effect with PMs. You guys know how important they are, but if it's not making their, if it's not making their AC run cooler or their fryer run faster or whatever the case may be, what's the value in it? But if you're able to show them what it looks like before and after and what they're actually doing to it without them having to climb on the rooftop, that's a very valuable selling point, because it just provides one more layer of peace of mind or one more layer of accountability. So they can't BS their way through it. That's one thing that I've always said. I've always been big on pictures with PMs and service calls. And it's, if you're PMing an ice machine, you don't show me a picture of an empty bin. You didn't clean that ice machine.
Mm-hmm.
And
if you can't prove it, you didn't do it.
Right.
That was my thing.
But it has to be that, because you're going to be questioned on these things, because while our labor rate on PMs is drastically cheaper than what we charge for service, still a big ticket item, because it's taken 3 hours, 2.5, 3 hours for any ice machine, if you're doing it right.
If you're doing it right.
It's you got more than 2 ice machines there. That's most 2 ice machines. That's half more than half your day. You got 3 ice machines. That's longer than your day. And we haven't even talked about walk-ins, ACs, or any kind of small refrigeration. So if you're there all day long and they can't feel what you've done differently, that you're sending them an invoice for $1,000 or whatever the case may be, then they're absolutely going to question that, especially in when times get lean for them, depending on what's going on. They're usually PMs are the first thing to go. Well, we don't really know what they're doing, so we're just going to shut down the PMs. PMs and training are always the first things to go in any company when things get lean, and those are things that are very very important to keep up with, because if you're not training your people right, then they're not going to be doing a service for your clients out in the field, and they're not going to be representing you the way you want to be represented. And PMs are making sure that everything's going to be working the way it's supposed to be working, getting ahead of any problems, making sure that the equipment can breathe, and making sure that it can shut off, because it is supposed to do that. So it's
it's around 24/7.
Yeah, XOI's been really cool. Have you guys really? Has it been a game changer for you guys too, or are you still just kind of in the infancy stages with it, and getting it to where you want it to be?
We're not utilizing the video side of it yet. I'm sure it's coming, but we're mainly just using it to walk through processes. Did you check in? Pictures of the data type, pictures of the front of the unit. What did you do? We're just in the infancy of it. There's a lot more stuff we're not even getting into yet. But we're just starting. But it's actually pretty cool. Like, I finally learned how to prompt it to put in the notes, like what I wanted, instead of like having to go manually still type my notes in. And like when I did that last week, I was like, oh, this is great. It's like I can play this game now. I know how to play it. My boss was like, you didn't type your notes in. I was like, read the notes. I said, read the notes it generated. He's like, how to do that? I was like, because I prompted it, and that's where my notes are going to be. I'm not writing them twice now. I said, that's what you're getting.
So is that an AI thing? When you say prompt, what do you mean by prompting it?
So it'll generate notes based on, it's AI 100%, but it'll generate notes based on what you input. So there's different sections for each different type of call you run. And it'll like a subset, like you don't have to do this, but like it'll say, take a picture of what you found wrong or whatever. And there's a subset below that says, what did you find wrong? And like you don't have to do this, but you can put notes in there, and you can. And I know how to prompt AI because I use it a bunch. So what was the problem and what was the resolution? I prompt it, and it'll break it down bullet point by bullet point by bullet point what I did, and then it'll break it down like, okay, my solution is I had to replace. I'm writing a quote to replace this, and this, and it'll break it down line by line by line, and it's all like broke down, just nice and neat and organized. No more just one run-on paragraph or sentence. It's pretty cool.
Terrible punctuation and spelling.
Yeah.
First letter is always lowercase, no period.
Yeah, you like
no breaths.
Dude, it's like ChatGPT. You can go in there with some big run-on sentence paragraph monstrosity, dude, and it'll clean it up and make it look nice and pretty, dude. As long as you put the information in there, what you did, it'll put it in there. You just got to figure out how to do it, and once you figure it out, man, it's golden.
It makes your life easier.
Mm-hmm.
I love, like, I'll in my Outlook Express email, I'll use the dictation microphone, and I will just talk in there, and then I'll cut it out, drop it in Chat GPT, and I'll put in there check grammar. It'll fix it up for me, or say this better, and it'll get rid of all my double negatives because I type how I talk.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, it's a wonderful thing, you know. So it's a wonderful
when
thing.
I'm mad, when I'm mad, I'll put it in there and I'll be like, I'll write out what I want it to say, and I'm like, make it sound more professional, and like,
yeah,
right in there, I'm like, perfect, send. See you. Thank
you. Sometimes I'll put it in there. I'm upset and I need to get my point across. I'll put it in there, and it'll make it so nice. I'm like, and then I'll put in there, be more direct, but professional, but tactful. I say tactful, direct, and professional so many times. I'm like, all right, that's a little too much.
Dude, it's amazing what you can do. I want to start playing around with Grok, because Grok is the one that makes videos. That's Elon's thing. Well, it's an AI platform, but it can make videos. Like, you can take your image and be like, upload your image, be like, make a video of me saying this, and it'll do it. It'll make the video. It'll steal it'll take your voice and it'll do everything. It's wild.
Oh, that's creepy. But don't you have to have a subscription for that?
It's like $50 a year. It's pretty cheap for what it does.
Oh, a year?
Yeah.
Because ChatGPT, I was looking into, it's like $20 a month, and I'm really considering it just because I could have it on all the platforms.
Yeah. But no, it's
all my devices. I mean,
it's pretty cool. That's what there's some organizations playing around that for training stuff.
$50 a year. That's not bad.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool. But it's called Grok, Grock, and it's Chat GTP based, but it's like a video side of it. It'll create an image or a video if you want, or you can like use your likeness and your voice even.
I've been seeing a lot more AI videos, and they're just, to be honest, they're disturbing. I'm like really getting over, and then I find myself focusing more on hands and the people in the background. I'm just like, is this real? And then I see someone's face morph, or I see 6 fingers, or their hand disappear, or things merging together, and I'm like, Jesus, this shit looks almost satanic.
Oh,
but it freaks me out. It's just like, why did they have to do that? It's like, who's thinking this stuff up? I could have gone my whole day, or maybe my whole life, without saying that.
It's all going to keep getting worse and worse and better and better on their end. So,
yeah. It'll be interesting to see how it unfolds. You know, once we get some time and distance playing with it and get it out of, you know, I consider right now kind of the beta stage. We're really just trying to figure it out. And
before Skynet goes live.
Yes, exactly.
I'm waiting for someone to say, you video chatted us and you asked us to clear your whole bank account out. That's what I'm waiting for.
Someone said that, like, they asked some AI expert, they asked him, like, will, you know, the Terminator happen? He's like, 6 out of 10%. He's like, 60% chance it's going to happen. I'm like, holy crap, 60% chance that Terminator will happen. Like, they will come to life and they will try.
Great. So we need to save money so we can get compounds, so we can get seeds, so we can live off the grid. You know, people are busy trying to become snowbirds. I'm trying to find a piece of land off the grid. That's just me.
Look, there's a ton of islands out in the world that are uninhabited and probably for sale. And, you know, you just live in a tropical region away from nobody, you know?
Like, no power, you're like distilling your own water. Like, just leave me be.
Yeah, you know, I'll set up some windmills or whatever we got to do. You know, it's
I'll have a great tan and I'll live on the beach. Leave me alone.
Right. I'll distill my own coconut liqueur and.
That's fun.
I'm coming over for that for sure.
So, what's some of your goals in your new position for this year?
You know, so my big goal this year is, you know, obviously, I'll tell you my fun goal that I told my boss, and this is going to make you guys laugh. I told her that my goal this year was to make her mad every time she has to approve my commission check. But,
that's a good goal, man.
I love it.
She said the same thing. She laughed at me, shook her head. She's like, "That's a good goal. I hope you get that." But you know, I really want to see this new gentleman get up and running and be able to grow that department, because our install department, you know, it's kind of, because we were an in-house company for so long, it really relied on our own stores, and there's so much potential out there because we have the people, we have the experience, and I think there's a lot of potential for us to grow in that market. So I'd love to be able to see that really take off, and just be able to have a whole farm of people doing that. You know, at some level, I'd like to have somebody else. I'd like to bring somebody in to do what I do and have them help out with the service side of things and be able to go out. because I've gotten to the point right now where I don't even, it's going to sound bad and I'm saying it on video, so it's even worse. I won't even go visit a single location in most times, because I love going to do site visits, but if it's a single location, new customer, we just don't have the bandwidth for it. It's, with those 50 new customers, we took 50 new locations we took on at the end of the year. Last year was the last quarter. Then the first part of this year, we took on 36 new locations in Orlando. So it's a lot of stores. I mean, we're talking close to 100 stores just with 2 new accounts. And one of them really isn't a new account. We just expanded it. So it'd be nice to be able, but I also want to be able to grow our team and make sure that our guys are comfortable and be able to grow those markets. I got them to move down into Fort Myers last year, and I really want to see that take off and really solidify North Florida. I don't really have any ambition for Miami in that area, just because that's a challenging market. But I'd like to see us maybe move up into the Panhandle, and that way we can maybe start sneaking across the border, run some hot calls in Georgia and Alabama, and be able to justify it, just to be able to kind of get our footprint. We're bent on global domination, so that would be it'd be nice to see us jump the border and hop into another state and be able to take on some work there, which we've done in the past, but it's not really been anything consistent. It'd be nice to be able to leave my mark and grow, regardless of when my time's done with the company, that way that I could say, hey, I've done this. Hey, I've grown up to this point, because it's been, being able to get into Fort Myers was actually a big thing. And it's because honestly,
that was a long time coming, man.
It was. I mean,
that's
because
I feel
like that's a market that's really struggled down there. I've heard for years, had customers like, hey, when are you coming down to Fort Myers? When are you coming to Naples? When are you going to be here? And I hear that they're just kind of stuck with the same couple of vendors and a few smaller guys that just really are not getting the level of service that they want. And so, I'd like to be able to kind of, big goal, I want to be able to cut my teeth into some marketing stuff and being able to really grow that, but also getting into RIFMA and being able to grow that network with more folks like Jason that are facility guys, and expand that, because I don't want to be stuck in Florida for forever. If that sounds crazy, I don't mind living in Florida forever, but I want to be able to do work in other places. So that's really my goal. I don't know if it's realistic for this year, but 2 years, I think that's a realistic goal.
I agree.
That's good. Yeah, I think it's attainable. It's gonna take some work, but you're doing the right things. You get the right values. You get the right outlook, the right mindset for it. I mean, just believing in your guys, and your higher ups believing in you is all it's going to take, and then just putting in that legwork.
I think I want us to be uncomfortable, to be in that state for a while, because when you're uncomfortable, that means you're growing.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody really likes being uncomfortable, so it's going to be irritable, and everybody's going to be grouchy and grumpy because they don't want to be uncomfortable. They want things to stay the same, but nothing ever stays the same. So let's be uncomfortable. Let's challenge ourselves and push ourselves so that we can get to the next level. And I want to take on new customers. Again, this retail space has been, I don't want to get away from who we are, because that's important. But the retail space has been an interesting challenge, and it's been a weird thing. I have every NTE they send in is $1,500 NTE. I'm like, oh, we can diagnose and repair and do all kinds of things, through these, $1,500 NTE, and they're running, and we're running through third parties, and it's been cool because we've been able to get new customers from that. Because with this one customer, again, I told you they have a national footprint, and just seeing our scorecard against their other vendors are in the high 70s on average, and we're like running 97% for them.
Wow.
Which is huge. I mean, that's a big deal. That gets us visible to other companies. We're going to appear higher on those search lists whenever companies are looking for new folks. And it's been nice for the guys, because it's kind of a funny situation, because they don't want us to talk to they have a lot of customers inside their space.
Mm-hmm.
So they basically are the landlords with a whole bunch of tenants inside. And they don't want us to talk to anybody yet there. So imagine if your office was telling you, Pat, that, hey, we don't want you to talk to the customers. We want you to go there, fix stuff, and don't talk to anybody. How would you feel about that?
I love talking to people, man.
Well, but I mean, but you can see where you guys you probably work with would absolutely love that, right?
Oh yeah, there's guys that don't want
me. But no, that makes sense. I mean, these are salons, and your customer isn't the people inside it, because this stuff's probably remotely controlled anyway. Your customer is just the landlord. You want to make sure that it's comfortable inside. But that would be hard, because I want to go downstairs and be like, hey, how's it feel in here? I want some of that validation. You know, it's like when I cook, I sit there and stare at my daughters and my wife. I'm like, so how
you're just waiting for that attaboy.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I need an attaboy. I need a scratch, you know.
what I'm looking for is when I'm cooking is that happy dance, and they're just, they get that good food and they just start, get the happy dance. I'm the hungry girl being fed good food. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That's funny. That's great, man. I love seeing you embrace the new role, growing, and looking for challenges. Like you said, you never grow when you're in your comfort zone. I mean, become complacent. You just roll with what comes in. You don't change. You don't grow, and get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a hard thing, because we like being comfortable. One of the things that I say all the time is, my goal in life, is I'm looking for comfort wherever I go. If I'm going to a concert, I'm going to pay a little extra for the nicer seats, because I don't want to necessarily be crammed in like this or having to be standing the whole time. I want to be comfortable, but being uncomfortable, when I look back at my life, the times where I was uncomfortable and struggling, I really cherish those moments looking back at it, because those are the times that when you're going through that growth, it's not so much, you don't appreciate it while you're going through it, because it's a struggle. But once you get to the other side of it, you see that growth that took place, and that's really special. Be able to see that in other people, and that's been a fun thing to be able to do now, because I have more of a leadership role with the company, is being able to teach some of the people in the office some things, and being able to show them, hey, there's this, and this. I one of the stupid things that I share with everybody is I have this crazy database that lets you break down the nomenclature on every AC unit through all the different variations, that being able to tell, down to the week or the day of the year that it was manufactured, and being able to share that with people so they can kind of be empowered to go look at that information up themselves, and being able to understand just kind of the basic principle, the basic concepts of HVAC, talking about how air balancing affects a building, and how they could, when they walk into a restaurant and they notice that when they pull that door to open, they can kind of feel the air being sucked in, and what that does to the building itself, to the homeostasis of the air in the building, because you're adding more humidity that's not supposed to be there, and you're that means your exhaust is pulling too much, or one of your dampers are closed, and it's just being able to educate people that aren't in the field, so they can kind of have that light bulb moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it all comes together, and then seeing them be able to take that when they go into places and just be like, oh, I wonder why this. When they start being inquisitive about it, and that's amazing, because when you start asking questions because you're just genuinely curious, that's a real learning and a real passion, where just gets that seed planted, because you're able to show them something they didn't know before, and they're able to have a better understanding of it.
Nice. It's a good way to put it. All right, guys, we are at an hour. I know we can keep going. We'll have to have you back for round 3. I promise. We won't wait so long. Oh.
Sorry. Sorry, Pat.
You're letting it burn. I like it. You're just letting it breathe there.
I wanted to say that, let's round 3. Let's see how, because you got your own employee now, and you're building that employee up. Maybe you can have that employee on with you. Maybe
I'm sure he'd love to come on.
Yeah, in a few minutes. I know he can talk. So maybe in a few months, round 3 will be you guys and whatnot. And I just wanted to throw that out there. And then
I'm down for it, 100%.
I lost my train of thought. What was the last thing? Oh, I want to talk about your bourbon and your whiskey in the background. It looks a little thin back there before we say goodbye. I know we did that last time.
I see some spaces back there. Yeah, there's definitely room for some more.
Some Michter. You got a whole row of Michters. You got Penelope. I see a Blanton's bottle. I
got a whole stack of Four Roses down here. So
whole stack.
Well, I mean, if I'm going to count them, just on the shelf, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm trying to work my way through the Four Roses recipes, although I've really got stuck on the OESO. So I'm just kind of, whenever I find those. So I'm trying to thin out my collection a little bit. So I'm working through my opens.
You have my address. I'm just saying.
You got my address.
I'm trying to like settle myself down here a little bit. I'm starting to get a pile. I gotta get a shelf. I want to get a shelf or something to put in my office because they're like all on top of the fridge. And the other
Amazon, they're 75-pound rated shelves. Don't go glass because it'll. I've seen too many horror stories of those breaking.
Even tempered. Even tempered.
Well, maybe tempered, but still, you want to make sure that the weight rating is on point. So I'm trying to work my way through my empties. So I've strategically bunkered about 4 or 5 cases of stuff that I'm not going to drink right now, and I'm kind of putting back for special occasions. So it's this way that I'm drinking what's in front of me, and I'm running out of bunker space. I literally have my closet that you probably see the door to over here. I've got about 4 or 5 cases just stacked in here. And when I say cases, it's kind of like the distributor cases. So it's not like a 6-pack or even a 12-pack. We're talking like 16 packs. So
we were in Florida for NAF. No, we were in Florida for AHR. He was like, "Oh, I left some bottles here. Go find them." I was like, "I ain't got time for that."
Yeah, again, I just last week we'll pull these guys down.
He knows like when stores get deliveries and stuff. Like he knows like schedules. It's wild.
You can kind of plan it. I did get these 2 from the Buffalo Trace Antique Collection last week.
You got a 17-year Eagle Rare. Oof.
And a George T. Stagg. So
I see a 12 Weller up there. I see a red lever.
Oh, I got a bunch of 12
Wellers. Or green? Oh, okay.
No, I've got a green here. I've got a few 12s that I got when I was in Texas. This little guy right here, this is dangerous.
What is that?
It's Kings County Distillery, but it's aged 7 years. But so this is a distillery out of New York, but it's a private pick from Old Man Wolfpack. But it's incredible, but it's 70.6% alcohol. So
what's barrel strength, buddy?
That's hazmat. So if you're shipping this, it's considered hazardous material.
Yeah, that's you could run a small engine on that.
I see.
Yes. So I'm trying to pare down a little bit. So it's I'm just trying to really just stick to what I like, because I was kind of just going out and chasing everything, and it's I want to keep what I like. I want to keep the things that I enjoy. So I'm not just try to get this thing going. I see Johnny commenting there. I got to see Johnny at NAFM. It was a good time getting to hang out with him. Johnny, are you up at Cefesa this right now?
Is it Region 4 right now, or there's one going on in every region at the same time?
I think there was another region last week. I think they were in PA or somewhere up north last week.
They were out west somewhere a little bit, I think. They were Colorado, because it was out by John Schwinn at Hawkins. Mine's not August or September or something for my region.
Oh yeah, it's a good time. I do want to shout out to my boy LJ, who works at Publix. He runs the Lakeland Whiskey Society. So this is a fun, rare character that he picked out. He actually had the one he did before this won a national award. Before he even got the bottle, it won a national award. They selected the whole barrel, but this is a fun one. So it's
nice.
Lakeland's thing is they kind of have these swans. The first one was the white swan, so this is the black swan. But
is that tasty?
It is. It's coming in at it's a 9-year bourbon, and it's coming in at 138 proof.
Oh, I was gonna say I'll see you on that, but never mind. That's a little.
But so the cool thing
take
about
the skin off the roof of my mouth.
Yeah, and the lining out of your stomach.
You put that on some ice.
Yeah. So the cool thing about the rare character is they like, this guy goes out and he hand selects barrels from different distilleries, right? And people just get to pick which ones they want. So he's and they create their own label for it. So it's cool. I would say they're not. they're not cheap bottles. I mean, you're looking at probably at least $100 for a bottle when you find one, but they're very interesting. They're kind of one-off barrels. So, and to have a fun 15-year-old buff turkey, which is the new fun thing now, which is I think it's distilled at Buffalo Trace using wild turkey's mash bill and aged at wild turkey. So it's very weird, but it was from, I guess I hear from some defunct brand that was going to take off and it didn't. So there's just a ton of these barrels floating around that are single barrels that are, but I mean, I think, no, it's 16 years old. There's a bunch of 15, 16-year-old barrels just sitting out there that, people are just gobbling up and packaging. So,
Nice.
but yeah, so I'm disappointed we didn't get to drink last time, Pat. So we're going to have to set that up next time we get together, or I'm going to have to get you some samples up so you can, we'll do a little advent calendar for you.
Yeah, man, it just didn't work out. Like I'd text you and I wouldn't hear it ring, or just like we just couldn't link up.
Well, my problem is I have my notifications set so low because I just, my work-life balance is important to me, and it's again with my son, it's whenever I'm here, I want to be able to be present for that, because that's the one benefit that I have about being the old dad, is that I want to make sure that I'm soaking up all this time in, because I'm able to recognize how finite this time is. There's only so much. I heard some crazy statistic that by the time your kids leave your house, you've already spent 80 or 90% of the time that you're going to get with them, which is heartbreaking. It's
10-20% left of the rest of your lifetime while they're living theirs, right?
Yeah, right. I mean, because they're at that point, they're living their life. They're becoming who they are, and so I just want to make sure that I have the wisdom at this point in my life to be able to recognize how important it is for me to be here for story time, be here for, when he wants to go jump on the trampoline and be wild, let him be wild, let him be crazy, let him go get dirty and be outside and explore, and let him bump that head, even though I know it's going to see him cry, but I'm just delaying a lesson. If I don't let him, if I stop him from doing something now, it just means he's going to do it later. And maybe it's going to be worse because he's going to be taller, so the trajectory is going to be even worse. I mean, it's so it's all those things. So just but I'm really trying to be. My phone calls come through, but like if any of my social media stuff, I don't have that set up to where I get notifications on it, just because it's and I shut it all down at a certain point at the night where I don't get anything else coming through. That originally started because I had a project manager who would be about 4 cups of coffee and then call me at like 5:30 in the morning. And while I'm awake, then the rest of my house is, I'm enjoying coffee and just kind of preparing myself for my day. And he's just, like, well, I'm awake, but not everybody else is. And he's like, yeah, I'm with that, and just blow right past it. I'm like, man, I need to call somebody else. So I just set it up to where I don't even receive phone calls before 7 a.m. So it's
gonna call somebody else.
Wild. Like,
You said miss me with that shit.
it sounds like our group chat. Like, well, like send a message like 11 o'clock, and I'm up at 4 o'clock. I'm like, I still want to respond. You send a message at 11. 4 hours.
I snooze those chats, snooze those group chats, because you just be at work and then all of a sudden you're just like, it's like rapid fire, and like, especially the more people you have in it, it's like, oh, I can't do it. That just gives me anxiety just thinking about the vibration in my pocket and on my watch.
Or even worse, playing it out loud.
Right.
It's not that bad, but we'll go on some tangents, and Jason doesn't reply all day, and he's like, Jason's just getting blown up, and he's just ignoring it.
I'm actually not. Yeah. I just don't. I do have my stuff off. I have my work phone on, and I put my personal phone to vibrate. If my wife calls, it comes through. If my kids call, it comes through. And when I get a break, I see where we are in the conversation. If it's not, I have a pretty big size screen. I see what's in the screen. I'll scroll up a little bit and be like, all right, I'll comment on the last thing, and then I go back to work.
He used to have us in his contacts where we'd pop up when he had notifications off, and then he had to shut that shit off real quick.
Yeah, it got out of pocket.
He's like, no, I'll turn this off.
Yeah, it's I'm bad about it because I get long-winded in text messages and emails,
No.
But I'm the worst because if somebody else sends me a long-winded text message or email, I'm getting about 4 or 5 lines in, and I'm just missing the rest. I'm like, okay, I got everything I need. I think.
You can read mine, but I'm not reading yours.
Yeah. Well, I try to be aware of it now, just because I'm like, oh, let me just call this person because I'm just putting too much here. So it's.
Yeah, I do the same thing. Like my regional manager was looking for clarifications. We're trying to refine like the truck stock for refrigeration tanks. He sent me his list of like 20 capacitors, and I'm like, I broke it down like, okay, these are individual capacitors for certain compressors. You can't, just use anything on these. Then there's a list of like all these capacitors. And I was like, okay, you can use this one for this one, and like trying to explain to him. I was like, I'm just gonna call him. I was like, bring the list up. I just sent you an email. Let's walk through this. I'm gonna tell you what I need to tell you. You write down what you need to write down because it's gonna be far easier. You're not gonna understand what I typed out because you don't speak tech.
Yeah. That's look. I have my field managers. I'm like, look, you're gonna, I know enough to be dangerous, but sometimes I need them to dumb it down for me just so I can get a good understanding of it, so I can repackage it and talk to somebody who knows nothing about, anything technical. So it is fun. So I understand where you're coming from, because it's, my fun thing is I always say, what's the delta T across the coil? Because I can say that, I know what it means, but in layman's terms, nobody else knows what that means. You can talk about TXVs all day long, but they don't know what it means. It's a thermal expansion valve. It's so, I mean, it's just being able to relay that information in a way that they can understand it and be able to grasp it.
100%.
Yeah.
All right, fellas, I am going to pull it because we're an hour 20 minutes. And,
yeah, man. You let me get long-winded.
Sorry.
You're all right. I appreciate you coming on, though, because you're a blast. It's good hearing someone in the office that still understands the technician's problems, but is also looking out for the technicians and the office at the same time. A lot of times people in the office don't understand the techs. We think they don't care. They just don't understand or don't know. So we just take it as they don't care. That's not really the case. But, you've showed time and time again that you care about the technicians and the office, and you want everybody to succeed. And that's really refreshing to see.
Yeah, and I'm a big person. I don't want any of my team to take an ass chewing that's unnecessary. That's why they pay me the big bucks, right? They give the ass chewing to me. That's my job. I don't want my techs to get berated out in the field. I don't want people on the phones getting berated by customers. If you need to call and complain to somebody, that's me. I am the complaint department. I'm the person, that's here to, I get that you're pissed off, scream at me. I'm not going to take it personal. I'm going to just take it all in, and we'll just go forward. We'll tell you how we're going to fix it and move forward. But I don't love that whenever they're mean to my team. That strikes a chord with me. And I'm like, okay, let me jump on that hand grenade here, because that's not what your guys' job is. Your job's there to save the day, and that's what it needs to be.
And be a lunchtime hero.
Here, I ain't heard that in a while.
I know.
Me either.
All right, guys. I appreciate you tuning in for this long one. It means a lot to us. We love David.
Thanks for having me again, guys.
We love David and everything he does for his guys down at Casper's and his
the industry.
And the industry as well. Yeah, David's a great guy, a great asset to the industry, and we really appreciate him taking time to come on, time away from his family, and come on, hang out, talk bourbon, work, everything. So, have a good night, everybody. Thanks.
Thanks again, guys.
If you guys would, please consider subscribing, rating, and reviewing the podcast. It really helps us grow and helps us know which direction to move in. Also, if you have any suggestions for guests, please email me at commercialkitchenchronicles@gmail.com. Or if you want to be a guest, email me. Love to have you guys on. Thanks a lot. See you next week.